Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the VUS Learning English podcast. My name is Anna. I am so happy you are here with me today. If this is your first time listening, a very special welcome to you. We are a big, warm family of learners from all over the world. And if you are coming back to listen again, welcome back, my friend. It is always so wonderful to have you here. Today, we have a very big and very interesting topic. We are going to explore a big question. What is the most powerful language in all of human history? This will be a journey through time. We will travel together to different places. We will see different moments in history. It will feel like we are listening to a great story. And the best part is that you are here with me. That makes me very happy. Thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with our podcast today. I know your journey to learn English is important to you, and it is important to me too. I am here to help you, to encourage you, and to learn with you. If you enjoy our time together, I want to ask you for a small favor. Please think about following or subscribing to our podcast. When you do that, it helps our little podcast family grow. It helps us reach more wonderful learners just like you. And now I have a question for you. Where are you listening from today? I love to imagine where you are. Are you in a busy city or a quiet town? Are you in Malaysia? Or maybe Somalia? Are you listening from Ethiopia or Africa or somewhere else in our beautiful world? It brings me so much joy to think of you all, listening from so many different places. We are all connected by our love for learning. Okay, are you comfortable? Are you ready to begin? Let's take a nice, slow breath together. Let's begin our journey. Our big question for today is, what is the most powerful language in human history? What do you think when you hear that question? What is your first idea? Maybe you think the answer is English. That is a very common first thought, and it is a good thought. English is a very important language today. But for our question, we have to look at all of history, a very long time. So English is maybe too new to be the answer. It is a recent story. What about another language? Maybe you thought of Mandarin Chinese. So many people speak Mandarin. It is true. Almost 1 billion people are native speakers. That is a number so big, it is hard to imagine. It is a huge number of people. So, is Mandarin the most powerful? Well, the story is a little more interesting than that. The direct influence of Mandarin on other languages is not so big. It did not change the words and the grammar of many other languages. So, for our question today, we need to think in a different way. What about Latin? Did you think of Latin? Now that is a very interesting idea, a wonderful idea. If you thought of Latin, you are getting very, very close to the answer. You are getting warmer. Really, really warm. But you are not quite there yet. This is because most people miss something about language power. Power for a language is not just about numbers. It is not just about how many people speak it right now, today. By that idea, Mandarin Chinese is a giant. And what about English? It is spoken in more countries than any other language in history. It is like the champion of the modern world, but its time at the top is new. It only became a global language in the last 200 years or so. And Latin. Latin is an amazing language. It was so foundational. It built 5 big world languages: Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. They all grew from Latin. That is an incredible thing to do. And yet, even when the Roman Empire was at its biggest and strongest, Latin was not the language of the world's most advanced civilization in science or ideas. So, what really makes a language powerful? What are we looking for? This is not a game of numbers. I am talking about something deeper, a more profound kind of influence. A kind of influence that lasts for a very long time. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a language that can change how other languages work. It can completely rewire them, like changing the wires inside a machine. This language changes another language's grammar. It floods its dictionary with thousands and thousands of new words. It changes the very way it is built. This is a very special kind of power. These powerful languages were like vehicles, like cars or ships. They carried ideas that were so new, so transformative. Big ideas in science, in law, in religion, in philosophy. These ideas were so important that the words themselves became essential. Other languages, foreign languages, needed these words. They absorbed them. They took them in across entire continents. These languages did not just help people talk to each other. They shaped the very thoughts that people could have. They gave people new tools to think with. This is the power we are exploring today. Welcome to our special episode. Today we are going to count down the 5 most powerful languages in history. To do this, I have a simple system for us to use. It will help us understand our choices. We will look at 5 key things for each language. First, how many other languages has it permanently influenced? I don't mean just a few words here and there. I mean a deep, lasting change to the language itself. Second, its geographic spread. How much of the world did it cover when it was at its peak? Did it cover a small area or a huge area? Third, its duration of dominance. How long did it stay as a top, important language? Was it for 100 years? Or maybe 1,000 years? Fourth, its cultural and intellectual legacy. What big ideas did it carry? Was it the language of amazing science? Or philosophy that changed how people think? Or was it the language of sacred divine texts? And fifth, the total number of speakers over time. This is not just a picture of today. It includes all the speakers across all of history. I know this list might be controversial. It might start some friendly arguments. And that is wonderful. Thinking and talking about language is a beautiful thing. And I think the number one choice will almost certainly surprise you. But by the end of our time together, I promise you this. You will have a completely new way of looking at language, a new perspective on what it means for a language to conquer the world. And remember, my friend, this is all for fun and for learning. Every language, including your own native language, is a treasure. It is powerful and beautiful in its own way. This is just a story about history, a story about how ideas travel. If you feel inspired after this, if you feel excited to learn a new language, that is the best feeling in the world. Learning a language is a journey of discovery. And this podcast, the VUS Learning English podcast, is here for you on your journey. We believe that learning should be full of joy. It should be full of context and curiosity. And we believe in you. We know you can do it. Now, are you ready? Let's begin the countdown. Let's start with number 5. Coming in at number 5 on our list is a language you know very well. Its power is so huge and so widespread, it is almost invisible to us now. I am talking about Spanish. Yes, Spanish. Today, Spanish is the 4th most spoken language on our planet. Some people estimate that the total number of speakers is over 560 million people. That is more than 500 million people. They live in more than 20 different countries. But the real power of Spanish is not just in these numbers today. Its power comes from a long history, a history of 500 years of empire. Let's go back in time together. Let's rewind to the 16th and 17th centuries. This was the time of the Spanish Empire. Spain made conquests in the Americas, and this made it the world's first truly global superpower. Imagine the Spanish ships sailing across the huge oceans. They went everywhere, from the tall Andes Mountains of Peru to the sunny shores of the Caribbean islands, and even all the way across the Pacific Ocean to the Philippines. In all of these places, Spanish was not just a language. It was a tool of power, an instrument of power. The people who governed the colonies spoke Spanish. The missionaries who spread their religion spoke Spanish. And in many places, the language was actively imposed. This means people were forced to use it, and it began to replace the indigenous languages, the languages of the local people. The result was like a linguistic tidal wave, a huge wave of language washing over the world. The influence is amazing to see. It is staggering. Let's take an example. Let's look at the language Tagalog. Tagalog is the language that is the base of modern Filipino. In the Philippines, if you look at the vocabulary of Tagalog, you will find that between 20% and 33% of its words come directly from Spanish. That is thousands and thousands of words. Think about that. 1/5 to 1/3 of a language's words coming from another. That is deep influence. And what about English? English is a very powerful language itself, but it was not immune to Spanish. It was also influenced. There are many words you use every day in English, and you probably do not think about where they came from. But they are echoes of this Spanish imperial age. Let's look at some. The word tornado, a powerful spinning storm. That word is from Spanish. Or mosquito. The small insect that bites. That is a Spanish word. It means little fly or canyon, a deep valley with steep sides. That is from the Spanish word cañón, and also plaza, a public square in a city, and rodeo, a sport with horses and cowboys, and cargo, the goods on a ship, and vanilla, the sweet flavor, and even alligator from the Spanish el lagarto, which means the lizard. The list of words is very, very long. These words are not just words, they tell a story of contact between cultures, a story of conflict and fighting, and a story of exchange, of sharing and learning. But there is something else that makes the story of Spanish so interesting. This is what puts it on our list. Spanish did not only conquer, it also blended. It mixed with other languages. Imagine you are in Latin America. Spanish arrived there, and it met vibrant, living indigenous languages. Languages like Quechua, Nahuatl, and Guarani. It did not just erase them, it collided with them. And this created something new. It created a mestizo evolution. Mestizo means mixed. It created a rich and beautiful tapestry of new dialects and creoles. These new ways of speaking Spanish absorbed words from the indigenous languages. They even absorbed some grammar. This shows a different kind of power. It is not just the power to erase or destroy. It is also the power to adapt and to create something new. Today, Spanish is still very powerful. It is one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations. This means it is a pillar of global diplomacy, a language for the whole world to talk together, and it is still growing. In fact, people who study populations project that soon. The United States could have more Spanish speakers than Spain itself. Think about that for a moment. The language is growing in new places. So you might be asking, why is Spanish not higher on our list? With all this power, why is it only number 5? Well, while its impact was huge, its main role was as a language of administration and conquest. It spread itself far and wide. But it did not bring a completely new way of thinking about science. It did not bring a new philosophical paradigm like our next languages did. Its power was in spreading itself very effectively. But it did not fundamentally rewrite the worlds of science or religion. in the same way as our top languages. So its legacy is very wide, but it is not as deep as the others on this list. Spanish is absolutely an underrated world power, but it is our number 5. How are you feeling, my friend? This is a lot of information, I know, but you are doing a wonderful job listening. Just relax and enjoy the story. Let's continue to number 4. At number 4 on our list, we have a language of elegance and power. If we were making this list 200 years ago, this language might have easily been number 1. I am talking about French. For almost 300 years, French was the king of languages. From the 1600s to the early 20th century, French was the undisputed language of power in the Western world. It was not just a language, it was a symbol of high culture, a symbol of sophistication, a symbol of the intellect, of a brilliant mind. This was the time when French was the lingua franca. Lingua franca. That is a Latin phrase. It means a common language that everyone uses, even if it is not their native language. And for all of educated Europe, that language was French. I want you to picture something. Imagine the beautiful royal courts of the 18th century, the kings and queens and nobles in their palaces. Imagine you are in Russia. The powerful Empress Catherine the Great wrote her personal diaries. She did not write them in Russian. She wrote them in French. Now let's travel to Prussia, which is part of modern Germany. The king, Frederick the Great, was a famous general and leader, but he preferred to speak French. He spoke French more than his own native German language. And of course, we must visit the glittering palace of Versailles near Paris. Versailles was the center of this world. It did not just set the standard for beautiful fashion. It set the linguistic standard. It showed every aristocrat, every noble person, how they should speak. From Madrid in Spain, all the way to St. Petersburg in Russia. If you were important, you spoke French. French was the language of diplomacy, of the conversations between nations. It had a reputation for being very precise and very clear. This made it perfect for international law. The Treaty of Westphalia in the year 1648 is a famous example. This treaty helped create the modern system of countries that we have today, and it was negotiated in French. Not exclusively, but a key language. Later, in 1714, the Treaty of Rastatt was written, and it was the first major international treaty written only in French. For centuries, if you were a diplomat, you spoke French. It was that simple. End of story. This incredible cultural power had a huge effect on other languages. It hammered them with its influence, especially English. The story begins a long time ago. In the year 1066, there was the Norman Conquest. People from Normandy and France conquered England, and they brought their French language with them. But that was only the beginning. During the time when French was the language of prestige, of high class, it gave English a huge number of words. The words for diplomacy, the words for art, the words for food, the words for fashion. People who study language estimate that around 28 to 30% of all English words come from French. That is almost 1/3 of the dictionary. Think about the words you use. Government. The people who run a country. That is a French word. Parliament. The group of people who make the laws. That is also French. Justice. The system of laws and fairness. French again. Treaty. An agreement between countries. Ambassador. A person who represents their country. The very language of power in English is French. And it does not stop there. Think about the language of culture, cuisine, the style of cooking, menu, the list of food in a restaurant, restaurant, the place where you go to eat, ballet, the beautiful style of dance, vogue, what is fashionable, chic, meaning stylish and elegant. All of these words and 1,000 more are gifts from French to English. Even today, the legacy of French continues. It is still one of the official working languages of the United Nations and the European Union and the International Olympic Committee and NATO. Its history gives it a special place in the world. So with this incredible story, why is French not higher on our list? Why is it not number 3 or 2 or 1? There are 2 main reasons. First, French influenced other languages very, very deeply, but it did not create a whole new family of languages. Our number 1 pick did that. French was a dominant influence, a very strong one, but it was not a generative one. It did not give birth to new languages in the same way. Second, its time as the only global lingua franca, the only top language, that time began to fade. It started to fade after World War I, and it faded more decisively, more clearly after World War II. This was because of the rise of American power and the English language. In the year 1919, after the First World War, the Treaty of Versailles was written, and it was written in both French and English. This was a very symbolic moment. It was like a changing of the guard. The torch of the world's top language was being passed. Today, French has around 80 million native speakers, and the total number of speakers is growing, which is wonderful. But its dominance on the world stage is now more of a historical story. Its power was immense. It truly defined an entire era of history. But in the end, it was eclipsed. Another language rose to take its place. And now, my friend, it is time for number 3. This is a language that truly changed the world. The language at number 3 on our list did not just spread across the world map. It did not just travel to new places. It carried with it something incredibly powerful. It carried a new religion, a new system of laws, and a scientific revolution that would change the world forever. This is the story of Arabic. The incredible power of the Arabic language begins in the 7th century. It begins with the birth of the religion of Islam. As the Islamic Caliphate expanded, it grew larger and larger. It started in the Arabian Peninsula, and it stretched all the way from modern-day Spain in the west to the borders of India in the east. It was a vast empire. And as the empire grew, the Arabic language traveled with it. It was not just the language of the conquerors and the rulers. It was something much more. It was the sacred language of the Quran. The Quran is the holy book of Islam, and this gives Arabic a unique power, an enduring power that lasts for centuries, a power that very few languages ever have for more than 1,400 years. For billions of Muslim people all over the world, Arabic is the literal word of God. That is a profound and deep connection. But the influence of Arabic did not stop with religion. During the time that Europe was in its Middle Ages, the Islamic world entered its golden age. This was a time of incredible progress and learning. Cities like Baghdad in modern Iraq, and Cordoba in modern Spain, and Cairo in modern Egypt. These cities became centers of learning and innovation. They were like bright lights in the world. And the language of this amazing intellectual explosion was Arabic. Scholars in these great cities did something amazing. They took the works of the great Greek thinkers like Aristotle and Plato, and they translated them into Arabic. They preserved this ancient knowledge. At that time, this knowledge had been lost to Western Europe. But the Arabic scholars did not just save it. They did not just preserve it. They built on it. They added to it. They made it better. Let me give you an example. A mathematician named Al-Khwarizmi. He lived at the 9th century. He pioneered a whole new field of mathematics, a new way of solving problems. He called it al-jabr. Does that word sound familiar? Al-jabr, it should. Because from that Arabic word, we get our English word, algebra. He basically invented algebra, and his own name, Al-Khwarizmi, gives us another important word, algorithm. An algorithm is a set of rules for solving a problem, which is what computers use. So every time you use a computer or a smartphone, you are touching the legacy of this Arabic scholar. Here's another example. A physician named Ibn Sina. In Europe, he was known as Avicenna. He wrote a famous book called The Canon of Medicine. It was a huge medical encyclopedia. It was so complete, so comprehensive, that it was used as a standard medical textbook in European universities for 600 years. For 6 centuries, doctors in Europe learned medicine from this Arabic book. This incredible scientific dominance meant something very important. It meant that if you wanted to be on the cutting edge of knowledge, if you wanted to learn about the newest discoveries in medicine, or math, or astronomy, you had to know Arabic. It was the language of science. And slowly, this knowledge began to seep back into Europe, It came through translations and through contact between people. And as the knowledge came, the Arabic words came with it. The impact of these words is monumental. It is huge. Let's look at Spanish again. There was a Moorish or Islamic influence in Spain for about 800 years. Because of this, the Spanish language has over 4,000 words that come from Arabic. But the influence of Arabic went much, much further. Languages like Persian, Turkish, Urdu, and Swahili all absorbed thousands of Arabic words. They are filled with them. And what about English? The language of science in English is full of Arabic roots. The word alcohol, that comes from the Arabic alcool. The word alchemy, an early form of chemistry from Arabic. The word alkali, a type of chemical from Arabic. And words for astronomy, the study of the stars. Zenith, the highest point in the sky. Nadir, the lowest point. Both are from Arabic. And words for trade and daily life. Tariff, a tax on goods. Magazine, cotton, sugar, coffee. All of these everyday English words have Arabic roots. But perhaps the most powerful gift that Arabic gave to the world was a revolutionary piece of technology, something that changed everything. I am talking about the numbers we use every day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We call them Hindu Arabic numerals. They came from India originally, but they were transmitted to Europe by Arabic mathematicians. And these numbers included a game-changing concept, a brand new idea, the idea of zero. The word zero comes from the Arabic word sifr, which means empty. This idea of zero changed mathematics forever. If you do not think that is real power, just try something for me. Try to do long division using Roman numerals. It is a nightmare. It is almost impossible. Arabic gave the world a language for math that was elegant and efficient and universal. It made modern science possible. So, with all of this history, what holds Arabic back from the top 2 spots? Why is it not number 2 or number 1? There are 2 main reasons. First, its spread was very closely connected to the spread of the religion of Islam. In places where the faith did not go, the deep influence of the language often stopped. Its power was tied to the faith that it carried. Second, there is a difference between the formal written Arabic and the spoken Arabic. The formal language is called Modern Standard Arabic, but the spoken dialects in different countries can be very different. A speaker from Morocco and a speaker from Iraq might have trouble understanding each other in a casual, everyday conversation. This fragmentation, this separation into different dialects, can limit its unity as a modern language. Still, a language that named the stars, a language that built the foundations of modern mathematics, and a language that rewrote the vocabulary of half the world, is without a doubt one of the most powerful forces in all of human history. I find these stories so fascinating. Learning about where words and ideas come from is so exciting. If you feel that way too, that is the spirit of the VUS Learning English podcast. We believe that understanding the context, the story behind a language, is a key to mastering it. It makes learning fun and meaningful. And you are doing a great job on your language journey. Just by listening today, you are learning so much. Be proud of yourself. Now, let's get ready for the top 2. Things are about to get very interesting. Let's move on to number 2. And now we arrive at number 2 on our list. This is the language that is the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the modern world. This is English. Yes, the language you're listening to right now. By almost every modern measurement you can find, English is the most powerful language on our planet today. And it is not even a close competition. It is the first truly global lingua franca in all of human history. The first language that the entire world uses to communicate. Let's just look at the numbers. They are truly amazing. Around 1.5 billion people speak English around the world. That is 1,500 million people. But here is the most important number, the statistic that really defines the power of English. Only about 400 million of those people are native speakers. That means they grew up speaking English from birth. So what about the others? Over 1 billion people, 1,000 million people, have learned English as a second language. No language in the history of the world has ever done that. No language has ever had a ratio like that. More than twice as many people learn it as a second language than speak it as a first. It has become the default language of our globalized civilization. The language everyone turns to. There's even a special index. It measures how useful a language is in the world. And this index ranked English as more than twice as powerful as its closest rival, Mandarin. English is not just number 1 today. It is in a completely different class all by itself. So how did this happen? How did a small island language become the language of the world? The story starts with the British Empire. The empire where people used to say, the sun never set. It was so big that it was always daytime somewhere in the empire. From North America to Australia, from India to Africa. The system of colonialism planted the seeds of the English language all across the globe. But that was just the start. Its dominance, its position at the top, was cemented by something else. It was cemented by the rise of the United States. After World War II, America became the world's leading superpower in economics, in the military, and in culture. And the language of America was English. Today, English is everywhere. It is the language of global business. It is the language of international finance. It is the official language of aviation. Every pilot who flies an international flight and every air traffic controller who guides them must use English. It keeps our skies safe. And it is overwhelmingly the language of science. Around 90 to 95% of all scientific papers are published in English. Think about that. If you are a scientist and you make an important discovery, if you want to share that new knowledge with the whole world, you pretty much have to do it in English. It is the language of human progress. And then there is the internet, the digital world we all live in. The percentage of English online has gone down a little as other languages grow, which is a wonderful thing. But English still makes up about 40 to 45% of all content on the web. For many people, English is the gateway to the digital world. And the vocabulary of English is not just spreading. It is like a torrent, a powerful flood of water flowing into other languages. This is happening everywhere in real time. Let's go to Japan. In Japan, they talk about something being sumato. It means smart from the English word. Let's go to France. In France, people go out and enjoy le weekend. That is the English word weekend with a French article. Let's go to Germany. If a computer stops working, they say der Crash. They use the English word crash. This is a new kind of influence, the influence of a truly global culture. So after hearing all of that, you must be asking a very logical question. Why isn't English number one? How can any language be more powerful than this? The answer is a single word: duration. How long has it been powerful? The global dominance of English is a very, very recent thing. It is a new phenomenon. It has only been this way for roughly 200 years. That is a long time for a person, but it is a short time in human history. For all of its incredible power right now, English lacks the multi-millennial legacy of our number one pick. It has not been dominant for thousands of years. It has spread everywhere. But it has not yet had enough time to fundamentally create new language families from itself. It influences other languages, but it has not given birth to them. And while most experts think English will probably stay dominant through the year 2050, its long-term future is not guaranteed. History teaches us that things can change. Other languages and other powers can rise. So to be clear, English is without any question the most powerful language alive today. But in the grand, long sweep of all of human history, it is still the contender. It is the current champion. But it is not the ultimate champion. Not yet. So, what could possibly be number one? What language has a legacy that is even bigger than English? Before we get there, let's take a quick moment to honor some other giants. Before we reveal our number one pick, we have to stop and acknowledge some other truly great languages. You might have been expecting to see these languages on our main list, and you would have very good reasons. They were all incredibly powerful. First, let's talk about ancient Greek. If we think that power is about the influence of ideas, then Greek has one of the strongest claims to being on our list. This was the language of incredible thinkers. Homer, who wrote the great epic poems. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, the fathers of Western philosophy. So many of our most important concepts were born in the Greek language. Words and ideas like democracy, philosophy, logic, and ethics. These are all Greek words and Greek ideas. And thanks to Alexander the Great and his conquests, a simpler version of Greek called Koine Greek became the first great international language of the Western world. It was the lingua franca of its time. And it was the language that the New Testament of the Bible was written in. So why is Greek not on our main list? Its time as a widely spoken lingua franca was a bit shorter than our other contenders. And eventually its power was overshadowed by the power of our number one pick, Rome. Next, we must honor Sanskrit. Sanskrit is an ancient and beautiful language. It dates back over 3,500 years. It is the sacred language of Hinduism, and it is also a very important language for Buddhism and Jainism. Its influence spreads like light from the sun all throughout South and Southeast Asia. It acted like a mother language to many modern languages like Hindi and Bengali, and it loaned thousands and thousands of words to languages as different as Thai and Malay. It is believed there are more ancient manuscripts written in Sanskrit than in Greek and Latin put together. So why isn't it on our list? Its direct influence, while incredibly deep, was mostly concentrated in one part of the world, in Asia. Finally, let's mention two ancient titans. Two of the oldest languages we know. Sumerian, which was spoken over 5,000 years ago. It was the very first language that we have any written record of. The first time humans wrote down their thoughts. Imagine that. And also Aramaic. For 1,000 years, Aramaic was the lingua franca of huge empires. It was the language of the vast Persian Empire and the ancient Near East. That is a remarkable achievement for any language. Each of these languages was undeniably powerful. Each one changed the world in its own way. But our number one pick. Our number one language combines all of these strengths. It has the philosophical depth of Greek. It has the religious holiness of Sanskrit. It has the administrative, governmental reach of Aramaic. And it has something else. Something that none of them ever achieved. Something truly unique in all of history. Are you ready? The suspense is almost over. Let's reveal the most powerful language in human history. And now, my friend, we have arrived at the number one spot. The most powerful language in all of human history. The language that did not just influence other languages. It did not just give them words. It became other languages. I am, of course, talking about Latin. Yes, Latin. Let this one amazing fact sink in. Just let it rest in your mind for a moment. The languages of Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and Romanian are not just languages that borrowed a lot of words from Latin. They are Latin. They are the modern, evolved, changed forms of the common, everyday Latin that was spoken by soldiers and farmers and merchants all across the Roman Empire nearly 2,000 years ago. No other language in history can claim this. No other language has ever given birth to such a large and powerful family. Today, those 5 languages, which we call the Romance languages, are spoken by over 900 million native speakers. 900 million people. That fact alone would be enough to put Latin at the very top of our list. But the power of Latin goes so much further. Its story is even bigger. Let's talk about English again. At its heart, English is a Germanic language. Its basic grammar and core words come from the same family as German and Dutch. And yet, I want you to open an English dictionary in your mind. Imagine all the words inside. A huge portion of those words, some people estimate it is as high as 60%, comes from Latin. 60%. More than half of all English words. They came either directly from Latin or indirectly through French. Think about the words we use for big, complex ideas. The word justice, that is from Latin. Virtue, logic, reason, science, memory, corporation, legal, military, scripture. All of these powerful, important words are from Latin. It is like the intellectual backbone of the English language is built on a Latin frame. And for over 2,000 years, Latin was the one undisputed language of power in the entire Western world. It was the language of Roman law. And Roman law is the basis of many legal systems we use around the world today. You can still hear the echoes of Latin in courtrooms. Lawyers use phrases like habeas corpus or pro bono. These are Latin phrases still used today. It was the language of science for centuries. When the great scientist Isaac Newton wrote his most important work, the Principia Mathematica, he did not write it in his native language, English. He wrote it in Latin. Why? So that it could be understood by all the other scholars and scientists across Europe. It was the universal language of knowledge. It is still the language that we use today to classify all living things on Earth. From Homo sapiens, which is us, to Tyrannosaurus rex, the great dinosaur. Science still speaks Latin. And of course, Latin was the language of the Roman Catholic Church. The Church was the single most powerful institution in Europe for over 1,000 years, for centuries and centuries. The Mass was said in Latin. The Bible was read in Latin. And all the business of the Church was done in Latin. This embedded the language deep into the spiritual life of an entire continent. It was the language of God for millions of people. And here's the final amazing irony. Here is the secret to Latin's unmatched #1 power. It truly conquered the world. After the Roman Empire fell, when the empire broke apart, the vulgar Latin, the common spoken Latin, in different parts of the empire, began to drift apart. It slowly changed. Over hundreds of years, these different ways of speaking evolved into their own distinct languages. They became Spanish and French and Italian. But at the same time, classical Latin, the formal written Latin, was preserved. It was protected by the church and by scholars, and it became a universal language of the intellect, a language that crossed all borders, a language that united the thinkers of Europe for the next 1,500 years. No other language has ever had this incredible combination of powers. It had generative power, the power to create a whole family of global languages. It had intellectual dominance, providing the vocabulary for law, science, and religion for dozens of other languages. And it had sheer longevity. Its prestige, its importance, lasted for over 2 millennia. Latin is the ghost in the machine of Western civilization. It is the invisible force that still animates the speech of billions of people, whether they know it or not. For its incredible depth, for its incredible breadth, and for its incredible unmatched endurance. Latin is the most powerful language in human history. So there you have it, my friend. Our journey through time is complete. The 5 languages that did more than just get spoken, they conquered the world. Not just with armies and with swords, but with ideas, with words. Number 5, Spanish, spread an empire across the oceans. Number 4, French, defined a whole era of culture and sophistication. Number 3, Arabic fueled a golden age of science and preserved ancient wisdom. Number 2, English, created our modern global conversation, connecting us all. And number 1, Latin. Latin provided the source code, the original program for so much of how we speak and think today. I know this list is sure to start arguments and discussions, and that is a beautiful thing. Maybe you think the intellectual legacy of ancient Greek deserved a spot on the main list. Maybe you believe that the ancient, deep influence of Sanskrit in Asia was overlooked. And you know what? You would have a strong case. You would be right to argue for them. That is what makes this topic so fascinating. There is no one single right answer. There are just wonderful stories. But for me, I believe what truly matters is the power of a language to carry and transmit world-changing ideas. Because in the end, my friend, the most powerful languages don't just help us describe the world as it is. They give us the tools to change it. They give us the words to imagine a different future. And you, as a language learner, are part of this beautiful human story. Every new word you learn is a new tool. Every new sentence you understand is a new window opening in your mind. Be patient with yourself. Learning takes time. It is a slow and steady journey. Keep going. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our journey together. And if you are feeling passionate about languages and want to keep learning, remember that our podcast is always here for you. Just press play. We are here to help you learn English with context, with joy, and with encouragement. Now I want to hear from you. What language do you think is the most powerful? What did I get wrong on my list? Leave your own top 5 list in the comments section. I truly love to read your thoughts. Thank you again for listening. I'm so grateful for your time and your energy. See you next time, my friend.